All right, let's talk about something that's at the very heart of any great school, getting your entire community fired up and on the same page. Today, we're diving into what real stakeholder engagement looks like and why it's the human engine that truly drives improvement. So, let's kick things off with a question that I'm sure keeps a lot of school leaders up at night. You've got this brilliant, well-researched strategic plan. The vision is crystal clear, but then, nothing. It just never seems to get off the ground. What is going on there?
Well, here's the thing. More often than not, this is the answer. You can have the most perfect plan ever written, but if you haven't brought the people, your teachers, your parents, your students, your community, along with you, it's really just a document. That human element, it's everything.
So that's what we're going to explore right now, this missing ingredient. We're going to look at stakeholder engagement not as some item on a checklist, but as this dynamic, ongoing process that is the absolute fuel for meaningful school improvement.
Okay, so before we get into the how, we really need to get crystal clear on the why. I mean, what are the actual tangible benefits of putting all this time and energy into uniting your community? What's the real payoff? First and foremost, it all comes down to trust. It's that simple. When you actually involve people in the decisions that affect them, you're sending a powerful message that there are no secrets. And that transparency, well, that's the foundation for an environment where people feel seen and respected.
And once you have that trust, something really powerful starts to happen. You get shared ownership. When people feel like they've had a hand in creating the vision, it stops being the principal's plan and it becomes our plan. That shift is an absolute game changer for motivation.
Oh, this is a big one. Seriously. Change is hard, right? And it's just human nature to push back on things we don't understand or, didn't have any say in. But if you bring stakeholders in from the very beginning, you're not forcing a change on them. You're building it with them. And that resistance, it just naturally starts to fade away. And let's be clear, this isn't just some feel-good exercise. It literally leads to better outcomes. When you tap into all those different perspectives, the teacher in the classroom, the parent at the kitchen table, even the student in the hallway, you start to see blind spots you never knew you had. Your decisions just get smarter and stronger.
Okay, so we've got the why down. We get it. It's important. Now let's pivot to the who, because the term stakeholders is actually a lot broader than you might think at first.
You can basically break them down into two big groups. You've got your internal stakeholders. These are the folks inside the building, day in and day out. And then you have the external crowd. Everyone from parents and students to local business leaders and even state regulators. Every single one of these groups brings a unique and valuable piece of the puzzle. But look, just making a list isn't enough. If you really want to be strategic about this, the next level is something called stakeholder mapping. This is where you actually think about, okay, who has a ton of influence but maybe isn't that interested yet? Or who is super passionate but feels like they don't have a voice? This helps you customize your approach instead of just using a one-size-fits-all strategy that doesn't really work for anyone.
Okay, I love this next concept. It's such a fantastic and simple framework for thinking about how you engage with people. Because it's not a simple yes or no. Engagement really exists on a spectrum, and we can picture it as a ladder.
So let's climb this ladder together step by step. Down at the very bottom, the first rung is to simply inform. Think newsletters, website updates, that kind of thing. Then you move up a step to consult, where you're actively asking for feedback through surveys or parent forums. A step higher is involve, where you bring people into the process, maybe on a committee. Higher still, you collaborate, where you're true partners making decisions together. And at the very, very top, you empower them by giving them the final say on certain things. The goal isn't to always be at the top, but to intentionally choose the right rung for the right situation. So we've covered the why, the who, and the different levels of how. Now let's get super practical. Let's talk about some strategies you can actually use to put all this into practice. This is where the rubber meets the road. Look, at the end of the day, great engagement runs on great communication. This means you've got to be consistent. You need to create real feedback loops where people can see their ideas are actually being heard. You need to be visible. You need to be approachable. And this is key. Use multiple channels. Meet people where they are. Some people live on email, others on WhatsApp. You've got to use it all.
All right, let's talk about a classic problem. I'm sure every school leader listening knows this feeling. You plan a super important parent meeting, you send out flyers, you put it in the newsletter, and maybe 5 people show up. It's so frustrating, and it can make you feel like, why even bother? So instead of just getting frustrated and blaming the parents, Let's flip the script and look at the barriers. Maybe your meetings are always at 5 p.m., which is just impossible for working parents. The solutions can be pretty simple, but so powerful. Try varying the times, offer a Zoom option, and if you can swing it, provide childcare. You'd be amazed what a difference these small changes can make.
Okay, now for an even trickier situation. What happens when there's a history of, well, let's just say mistrust? Maybe a big initiative failed in the past, or maybe the community just feels like they've been ignored for years. That history can poison any new effort before you even start. So, how do you fix that?
Here's the deal. You can't just pretend the past didn't happen. You have to own it, openly and with honesty. But, words are cheap, right? So you have to act on the feedback you get, even on small things, to prove that this time is different. And then you have to celebrate those small wins together. That's how you build momentum and show everyone that a new, more collaborative chapter has truly begun.
Whew! We've covered a ton of ground. So now I want to flip this back to you, because the whole point of this is to apply it to your own school, your own community. So let's wrap up with a few questions for you to reflect on.
First question, and be honest with yourself. Have you clearly defined who your stakeholders are? Can you, right now, list out all the key groups? And maybe more importantly, have you thought about what role you actually want them to play in your school's journey?
Okay, next up, take a good, hard look at how you're reaching out. Are your strategies really reaching everyone, or just the same group of highly involved parents? Are you thinking about parents who speak different languages or who don't have reliable internet? Because real engagement has to be inclusive.
And finally, this might be the most critical question of them all. Are you just collecting feedback for the sake of it, or are you truly listening? And here's what listening really means. It means you act on what you hear, and then, this is the crucial part, you report back to the community and show them exactly how their input changed the outcome. That's closing the loop. That's how you build real, lasting trust.
I want to leave you with this one thought, because it really sums it all up. A school isn't just bricks and mortar. It's a living, breathing community. And when that community feels united, with a shared vision and a true sense of ownership, well, that's when a school doesn't just improve, it thrives.